Alright, hello everyone and welcome to WWE Discussion. I'm your host and WWE enthusiast Ducky Doug, and today's episode I'm going to be discussing SummerSlam 2023 edition. And what an edition of SummerSlam this was. I'll tell you what, the CGI going into this with all the animations and all the car theme that they had going, because SummerSlam was in Detroit and had Ford Field. It looked pretty cool. The card that WWE put together, pretty solid card, and it resulted in a pretty solid night of action. And with that, we're going to go ahead and get into the action, going over some takeaways from the show, starting with LA Knight. So, LA Knight competed in the Slim Jim Battle Royal, winning said Battle Royal. And does this win mean that WWE is now proving that they are indeed committed to him? So, despite his growing popularity, it looked like WWE was refusing to take advantage of it by elevating his stature on the show or doing anything of real substance with him. But the WWE Universe has been persistent. The ovations getting louder and more passionate, and ultimately LA Knight simply became a runaway train, and it was difficult to deny that he was indeed a runaway train. And his win in the Slim Jim Battle Royal was an acknowledgement by WWE that they are indeed hearing the crowd's reactions and that they are seemingly prepared to make a move on a push for LA Knight. The self-proclaimed megastar is most certainly ready for one. His catchphrase is over. He has natural charisma, and the fan base, well, they lose it every time he steps out into the into an arena. So the recipe for success is there, and on the heels of a signature victory at a big premium live event like SummerSlam, I'd say LA Knight is ready for his breakout moment. Yeah. And then we have the Judgment Day. So only Finn Balor would be competing, and he would compete in a World Heavyweight Championship match against Seth Rollins. WWE running that one back for like the third time, and well, Seth Rollins is now up 3-0 on Finn Balor when it comes to world title matches. It counts. So this one a throwback to SummerSlam 2016, and as a whole, Judgment Day went from a failed concept to a top faction. So so if you look at where this faction was a year ago, well, it was led by Edge, but he jumped ship. And the addition of Dominic Mysterio, well, kind of felt like it was just a vehicle for family drama more than anything that would benefit the group. But you fast forward a year later, and the faction has developed into the most over group in WWE, thanks to the effort involved to highlight the individual personalities in the group. And also just the success that the members within the group have been having. Dominic Mysterio winning the NXT North American Championship, Rhea Ripley becoming the women's world champion, and Damian Priest being Mr. Money in the Bank. Their presence on Raw is undeniable. They're a key part of the show, a faction with multiple ongoing storylines that have served as the foundation of the flagship show. They are the moving pieces, and the moving pieces and the performers involved have helped heat up a show that about 6 months ago wasn't really doing so hot. And on Saturday, as I talked about, Balor won one-on-one with Rollins, and well, due to some shenanigans involving the Money in the Bank briefcase, well, Finn Balor ended up losing, and Priest inadvertently cost Balor the match. I do kind of agree with Corey Graves that it wasn't entirely Priest's fault. He was just trying to help, but clearly there was a breakdown in communication within the faction. And it appears that the tension within the group is once again at the forefront. The question is, how much will this impact the Judgment Day? I think as long as creative stays true to the characters and backstories that have been put in place over the year, there's no reason to believe this faction cannot find a way to work through the dissension and remain a vital part of Monday Night Raw. But it certainly is interesting too. Finn Balor cost yet another World Heavyweight Championship match, or losing out on another World Heavyweight Championship match. He's not going to get another one for a while, and it's a shame because Balor should be a world champion, but timing is everything, and the timing just didn't feel right. So hopefully Seth Rollins moves on, and I guess we shall see what the Judgment Day does next. and Bianca Belair, and cue the incoming bad guy turn, which, well, I could have put a question mark there, but it doesn't feel questionable. It feels like it is coming. It feels like Bianca Belair is going to the other side. So, and you think about her path to getting there. Well, first, she would endure the frustration of being denied a rematch against Asuka for the WWE Women's Championship, which she lost to Asuka. And then she watched as Charlotte Flair walked back into the company after a post-WrestleMania vacation and jumped to the front of the line for a title opportunity. Saturday, Belair overcame what could have been a devastating knee injury. No idea if that's a work or a shoot, but either way, she overcame that and won the match and regained her title, only to lose it in about 8 seconds to an opportunistic Io Sky, who benefited from Belair's knee injury and the presence of Bayley to cash in her Money in the Bank briefcase. And with that latest development, Belair's melting frustration going into the show, there's an opportunity for WWE to turn Belair into a bad guy. An opportunity that should not be passed up. Give credit to Belair. She's done it all over the last 2 years, becoming one of the most popular stars on the roster, while also becoming one of the best women's wrestlers in WWE, regardless of whatever show she finds herself on. And to avoid the scenario of fan burnout, there's a chance here to freshen her up. And I talked about not passing up any opportunities, so yeah, seize the chance. Let her show off an attitude fans might remember from her NXT days when she first burst onto the scene. And because Belair is too good to fall into the creative mediocrity because she stayed a good guy for too long when there was an opportunity to switch things up and avoid stagnancy. So ultimately, for the Women's World Championship match, I will admit it is a shame that Asuka lost, and it's a shame that Belair won only to lose it seconds later, but I am quite excited, or I am looking forward to Io Sky's title reign. It has been well earned, and the timing was pretty good too. She debuted at SummerSlam last year, and at this year's SummerSlam she cashes in and becomes the new Women's World Champion, so at the very least for Io Sky, things are looking up, and the Women's Championship title scene is very interesting because I don't think Asuka is going anywhere. I don't think Belair is necessarily going anywhere. Flair might still hang around too, so even though there's not necessarily any new challengers stepping up at the moment, I mean, Zelina Vega could certainly make a case to be in contention as well too. So the challengers are there for Io Sky. It's just a matter of seeing how WWE prioritizes who challenges Io Sky first. And then you have Gunther taking on Drew McIntyre for the Intercontinental title, and he beat Drew McIntyre clean. And I think it's safe to say that Gunther is the most credible villain in WWE. Drew McIntyre, probably his toughest test to date, right up there. I mean, it's kind of hard to decide between McIntyre and Sheamus, but both of them very tough tests. But Gunther would emerge from this test with his Intercontinental Championship reign intact. The ring general endured punishment, including a battered chest that looked like minced meat. In the closing moments of the match, though, he would deliver a powerbomb and stack up his challenger for the win, moving within mere days of breaking the record for longest IC title reign in WWE history. And you think about the manner in which Gunther won. No interference. Which is always great to see. The best matches in WWE are the ones that don't have interference. In the fact that there wasn't any interference here, further solidified Gunther's status as the most credible villain on the roster. He does not rely on referee bumps, ringside interference, or cheap wins. He beats his opponents because he's the better wrestler. He out-wrestles them in the ring. His endurance proves to be better than his opponents. His ability to absorb punishment is greater, and as a result, he is able to outlast the competition. Gunther is a legitimate in-ring competitor who basically looks like he can beat anyone, which is why the drama in his title defenses makes them compelling to watch. As long as he is allowed to continue to be himself and continue to, pick up wins in the way that he knows how, he's gonna remain over. His character might not be flashy, and his moveset might not be flashy, but it doesn't need to be. More, I think, and more importantly than that, he carried. Yeah. So, not a flashy character, not a flashy moveset, but again, doesn't need to be. He carries a type of credibility that other villains in WWE like Roman Reigns just simply do not. And then speaking of Reigns, we get to the Bloodline Tribal Combat to close out the show. Roman Reigns would retain the Universal title and remain Tribal Chief, thanks to the betrayal of Jimmy Uso, which was a plot twist I did not see coming, so I guess credit to WWE for that one, well done. And I think there's another thing to talk about here coming out of this Tribal Combat, and that is the elevation of Solo Sikoa. Now, that elevation of Solo Sikoa might be the end game in the saga. Hard to say right now if it is, but Solo certainly also, Jimmy and Solo certainly kind of took the spotlight in this match. Jimmy stunning the WWE Universe by betraying his brother Jay in the closing moments. But despite that development, in what is WWE's answer to primetime soap opera, Solo Sikoa also stood out in this match as a potential benefactor of the story. Over the last 6 months, he has stood idly by Roman Reigns, listening to him and supporting him physically when need be. He is, after all, the enforcer, and he certainly lives up to that title. Recently, though, he's growing skeptical of the Tribal Chief and his special counsel, showing hints of a brute who understands more than he lets on and may be ready to go solo. At SummerSlam, Sikoa was accidentally on the receiving end of a spear from Reigns, and he was not happy about that one. Certainly the teases have been there for Solo to suggest that Solo is thinking about his own goals and aspirations and thinking about going out on his own, going solo, as I talked about. And if the end game is ultimately for Reigns to make a star of someone, and it's not Jay, well then Solo's probably the next best thing given his recent improvements. Especially when you think about his recent improvements in body language and physical nuances, which Reigns has proven are so key to the acceptance of a story. So the Bloodline story, it wrote a pretty good chapter at SummerSlam, but it's not over. And it's certainly gonna be interesting to see how this one plays out. Jimmy, Solo, Roman, Jay. The story just keeps going on and keeps giving people a reason to tune in. So in conclusion, SummerSlam 2023 was a hit. Most of it was predictable, but most of the decisions were also logical, and most of the outcomes were satisfactory. Every single match in the card was, enjoyable on some level. Well, maybe not the morality base are probably a weak point, but I don't think it was terrible. The crowd reactions definitely up and down throughout the night, but I think that was kind of on them because, I'll give them credit. This is not a knock on them. They went all out at the beginning and kind of tired themselves out, but they hung in there, so I'll give them that. The biggest surprise of the night, perhaps the performance from Ricochet and Paul. The expectation was that they were going to do some wild stuff, but the way they were able to put everything together just looked great. I forget who produced that match, but if that person hasn't gotten a raise, probably should give that person a raise. Io Sky's title win, satisfying moment for her and her fans. Night's victory in the Battle Royale, nice moment for the fans. And both world title belts delivered in completely different ways. All in all, pretty successful show in terms of the quality of each match. Now WWE just needs to make sure it follows up on everything heading into Payback. And with that will conclude this episode of WWE Discussion. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to hit that like button down below.